In episodes 5 and 6 of The Cleaning Lady, we get introduced to Jazz's dad, finally. We properly get to meet Cortez for a short bit. And Nadia comes to that point where it seems like she's feeling like Armand is definitely creeping into that territory where he's cheating. And even if it's just potentially emotional right now, she rather cut her losses now and not necessarily attach herself to Robert, but maybe for the first time in a long time, if not ever, because we don't really know Nadia's life yet, maybe she's going to decide to just be on her own and, yes, figure out ways to finesse the man in her life in order to get to that point, but more on that in a recap. So let's begin with JD. It isn't clear how Fiona and JD met, even when you watch both episodes that we're covering. All that is clear is that JD and Fiona were together. They liked each other enough to, to make jazz, but unfortunately, JD was a military man who's now getting out of service and going into teaching. And there's something that seems a bit off. Not about him, but more so about his and Fiona's relationship. You can tell that he still has lingering feelings, but with it being revealed he has a girlfriend in episode 6, I want to say, the one that just came out on October 24th, it's clear that nothing's going to get rekindled. It seemed like that was a possibility in episode 5, but in episode 6, that gets shut down when Jazz is talking about because she thinks that Chris's issues are because he's a TNT. She talks about, JD adopting Chris, marrying Fiona, and not solving issues. But he's with somebody who we haven't met and just get told about because of Jazz's idea, so it is what it is. But let it be clear, we don't know how serious JD's relationship is with this new woman. And considering Fiona's first client for the cleaning ladies, Ginger Klein, a former showgirl turned event planner, sees that there's something there, who knows what could happen down the line. Tony likes him, Luca likes him, Chris likes him. Jazz, even though he hasn't been part of her life consistently, adores her father, so there's always a chance that something could happen. Speaking of Chris, his struggles with what he did to Marco are only continuing to build as Detective Flores comes and makes it seem that they're now looking at Jim, who Armand killed, as the potential culprit for why Marco died. Chris, even though this would relieve any type of legal issues that could come on him or even his mother, because, she would fall on the sword for him, he feels like he can't let that happen, so he was going to confess. Thankfully, Fiona explains things to JD stops him, but because Chris wrote on his name at the police station that he wanted to talk to Detective Flores, unfortunately now he's going to draw attention back to the house, which is leading us to talking about Tony's situation, which is getting back into being a CI for Garrett and bringing Armand along after they get caught, having a bunch of drugs in the truck. So, while Garrett and Armand don't get along because after that last bus, Garrett didn't show, he was going to hold up his side and that caused issues, but at this point, Armand wants to get Robert away from Nadia, so whatever it takes is whatever it takes. If he has to take down Cortez as a means to get to Robert, it's whatever for him. But unfortunately, in order to get Robert into a position of doing or saying something that's illegal, he has to trick him. And unfortunately, because Nadia is not someone who really likes working with Tony and probably isn't that fond of working with the FBI either, she can't get told of what's happening, so she gets surprised by how big Armand and Tony's drug thing has gotten. And her surprise allows Robert to see that she doesn't know everything and allows Robert to suspend his disbelief to a certain degree and want to get in onto the drug dealing business. He wants some high number. Armand knocks him down to 20%. And with that, they're in together. And Amon mentions how he's having issues with, moving product. So Julian Cortez is brought into the play. This is good for Garrett because that's the person he wants to get because, he's messing with Maya, who Garrett is obsessed with to the point where it probably has nothing to do with the case. And unfortunately for Amon, the whole situation blows up in his face. When it comes to Nadia, she decides to throw all his stuff onto the driveway and she's done with him. She also decides when it comes to Robert, while Robert has freed Nadia and also Amon from their debt for the 20% that he's going to get out of Amon's drug business, Nadia decides she's going to still work for Robert, make a commission so she can take care of La Habana and buy that property. And it isn't clear what the fate of her and Amon's marriage is going to be. Right now, they're definitely separated. But whether or not Nadia may get back with him, maybe get back with Robert, who would probably love that, or if she's going to pursue independence fully, it's hard to say. All that we know for sure is that when Robert sets up Amon to meet with Julian Cortez, the same day those two meet is the same day that Julian Cortez dies. Why? You already know why, Garrett. All that has to happen is Maya showing up, seeing Tony, Garrett, because he saw Maya, getting a little freaked out and going rogue. And with that, by the end of the episode, Cortez is dead. He gets shot. Tony covers it up to make it look like he had the gun in his hand rather than he just got shot by... Did he get shot by Maya or did he get shot by Garrett? Either way, he's dead before we even really get to know him. And with that, Robert is our de facto villain who continues to be lackluster. And with Julian Cortez dying, so comes the question of whether Garrett is going to help Amon anymore with Robert, considering while Robert's name was said by Maya, at the same time, you and I both know that the only thing that Garrett cared about was getting Maya back, Julian Cortez out of her life, and whether or not he decides to continue to pursue this Robert thing is really up in the air. But with that said, Robert likes to be the money guy. He doesn't like to have any real attention, so Amon, for the second time, having the FBI in his business, and now bringing that to Robert's place of work, that's going to make things more difficult for him in a way that it's definitely going to be something to watch as the whole rest of the season unravels. So in terms of highlights, meeting JD and also the introduction of Ginger definitely are two highlights for us. When it comes to JD, I have to admit, I wasn't sure of how he was going to be because Jazz's father being absent all this time made me think maybe he was a bum. Or else, like Chris's father, he wasn't fully aware or prepared to be a father, so that's why he was absent. And that kind of led to the narrative that was presented in season 1 where, Fiona just wasn't good with men. But JD's cool in a way that makes it seem like he's definitely sticking around. And then with Ginger, what I like about Ginger is that she doesn't fit the tone of the cleaning lady. She isn't kind of dry, overly serious, and dealing with issues that, bring her down. She has energy, she's fun, and she gives much needed life to this show. Now, we don't see her in episode 6, I want to say. Yes, episode 6. So there's the question of how often are we going to see her since 7, 8, 9, 10, there's only 4 episodes left. But one could only hope she at least has a reoccurring role just to give this show some life, because Garrett going after Maya, Nadia flipping out on Amon, yes, you can see there's passion in that, but it's not giving the type of joke that the cleaning lady definitely needs as it starts to hit what can feel like a sophomore slump. And the reason we think it's kind of going into a sophomore slump is because, as much as we appreciate what JD can bring to the show, I really don't want him to get stuck with Fiona and, they're kind of doing that will they or won't they thing. Because pretty much when it comes to the Clean Lady, none of the relationships written are that interesting or good. Garrett and Maya, trash. He's obsessed with her, and she's so used to abusive relationships at this point, it's like he's just another one in the long line of trash. Well, we don't know her full relationship history, but Garrett to Cortez, and considering what Garrett did to Tony and her family, she likes trash men, in my opinion. JD and Fiona, he's a nice guy, she's a nice girl, but I feel like she needs stuff that. What's the best way to put it? I feel like JD is ready for a relationship. He's ready for marriage. He's ready to maybe make a family. And I think Fiona's still at that point where she's so stuck in survival mode that thriving in a way that JD wants to and is capable of, she's not there yet. They're in different places in life, and it's not cute to watch somebody wait for the other side to catch up while becoming a bit stagnant while they wait. Who else? Nadia, Armand. They look good together. As for their relationship, it was never that, awe-inspiring, butterfly-inducing, anything like that. In Tony Armand, that's just creepy. And it's only creepy because I can't get past how he would compare her to his mom back in season 1, and it just. No. And the second on the fence, even though it's probably better off to be a low point, is with Cortez's death, we're right back where we started. Garrett isn't the villain, even though he does a lot of villainous and selfish things. Robert can be seen as a villain, but he is boring. He's boring. He could probably easily be manipulated by Nadia, but she just doesn't feel like, giving him too much leeway to make him think something can happen. And yes, he does lead to people getting hurt violently, but I don't want to call him a punk, but considering how Amon really just kind of yokes him up and chokes him a little bit, and Robert doesn't do anything, and also his man doesn't really do anything, how am I supposed to take that man seriously as a villain if he can just get choked up like that? And he may talk tough, but he doesn't do anything back. It's just, I don't know. I think overall, The Cleaning Lady is not a bad show. It's just like a lot of shows, it tries to up the ante with a lot of drama, depths, and all that, and it's not giving you, as I've said before, something long term to look forward to. It's focusing too much on the short term and not as much on stuff that would keep you watching and wanting to see a season 3, a season 4, a season 5, etc. And I don't check the ratings because I just don't care about the numbers, and I'm honestly questioning whether or not this could come back for a third season, or if it does come back, is it going to be something that gets renewed immediately, or is it going to be something where it feels like it's a last minute renewal just because Fox can't think of something else to put in its time slot?